multiplying fractions. So if in your big book you can write the heading Gwaith dosbarth, multiplying fractions and today's date. If you need to pause the video to do that, you can pause the video as often as you need to. So when we are multiplying fractions, before doing anything, we first need to check to see if you can cross-cancel the fractions diagonally or simplify vertically. So diagonally, we're seeing if we can do any cancelling down to make the numbers smaller and simpler to multiply. And vertically, we're looking to see if we can simplify the fractions this way at all. Some people call this the bow tie method because it looks a little bit like a bow tie. And this is really important here. We cannot simplify horizontally. So from side to side, we cannot simplify this way. It's only up or down or diagonal. Once we have checked for our simplifies and our cross cancels, we then simply multiply the numerators together, the two top numbers, and then multiply the denominators together, the two bottom numbers of the fraction. So if you can copy this into your big book, again, if you need to stop the video, pause the video to do that, then do so now. So if we look at some examples then, so underneath the note you've written, if you put the side heading examples, and our first example is 4/5 times by 2/3. So we can see we got 4/5 times by 2/3. So now rewrite it underneath as I will do for all of them. So we need to first look now, do we have any cross cancel? Is there any number bigger than 1 that goes into 4 and 3? No, there isn't. Now we look the other way, 5 and 2. No, 1 is the only number that goes into these. Looking vertically, is there a number bigger than 1 that goes into 4 and 5? No, and then again, is there a number bigger than 1 that goes into 2 and 3? No, there isn't. So the question stays exactly as it is. So we simply multiply the top two numbers. 4 times 2 is 8. And then we multiply the bottom two numbers. 5 times 3 is 15. So 4/5 times 2/3 is equal to 8/15. And that is our final answer. Moving on to number 2 then. 3/7 times by 4/9. So if we look at the diagonals here, 3 and 9, is there a number bigger than 1 that goes into 3 and 9? Yes, there is. 3 goes into them both. So we can cancel these off. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 9 3 times. If we look at the other diagonal, is there a number that's bigger than 1 that goes into 4 and 7? No, there isn't. So they stay as they are. Vertically, we haven't got any simplifies here. 1 is the biggest number that goes into them both, and the same there. So now, this is our question. 1/7 times by 4/3, which equals 1 times 4 is 4, 7 times 3 is 21. So if you can copy them into your big book. And then moving on to our next example. So again, I'm going to rewrite it underneath. 7/12 times by 6/7. So if we look for our cross cancels here, looking diagonally, first of all, is there a number bigger than 1 that goes into 7 and 7? Yes, there is. 7 goes into itself once, 7 goes into itself once. Looking the other way then, is there a number that goes into 12 and 6? Yes, the highest number that goes into both 6 and 12 is 6. So we can cancel these off. 6 goes into 6 once, 6 goes into 12 twice. Is there any cross cancels this way? 1 and 2, no, and then 1 and 1. So we've basically got 1/2 times by 1/1. Multiplying the tops, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 1 is 2. So our answer equals 1/2. Going on to example number 4 then. 11/15 times by 6/22. So, if I rewrite this out, 11/15 times by 6/22. Looking at our cross cancel, so if I go this way first, like I've been doing, is there a number that goes into 11 and 22? Yes, there is. 11 goes into them both. 11 goes into 11 once, 11 goes into 22 twice. Then, if we look at the other diagonal, 6 and 15, well, what's the highest number that goes into both of these? The highest number that goes into them both is 3. So, we can cancel them down. 3 goes into 6 twice. 3 goes into 15 5 times. Well, if we look here now, can I cancel vertically? Well, we're left with 1 and 5 on this side, so there isn't a number bigger than the 1 that goes into these. But on this side, I've got 2 and 2. Well, I can cancel the 2's. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 2 once. Therefore, we're left with 1/5 times by 1/1. Multiply the tops, 1 times 1 is 1, 5 times 1 is 5. So our answer is 1/5. So we can see there we had both a diagonal and a vertical. So it's really important that you do double check your question to make sure you've got all of your simplifies to make the number as small as possible. If, for example, you did miss one of the simplifies, then your answer wouldn't be in its simplest form. So what you would need to do then is simplify your final answer. But by doing all of the cross cancels and vertical simplifies, you'll avoid having to do that at the end. Moving on to our next question then, 4/5 times 25. So with this question, we need to make the 25 a fraction. In order to do that, we put 25/1. Once we've got them both as fractions, we do exactly the same. We look, do we have any diagonals? There's 1 is the highest number that goes into 4 and 1, so there's nothing that way. 5 and 25. Yep, 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. Looking vertically, we haven't got any there or there, so we end up with 4/1 times by 5/1. So when we multiply these out, 4 times 5 is 20. Multiplying the top numbers together, 1 times 1 is 1. So our final answer is 20/1, but we know that this line means divide. So we're saying 20 divided by 1, well, we know anything divided by 1 is the number itself. So 20 divided by 1 equals 20. And you may want to add a note here to say, never leave your final answer over 1. Okay, we always just write it as the number itself, because as I mentioned, the fraction line means divide. So 20 divided by 1 would be 20. So last example there, 12 times 5/8. So first of all, we need to make the 12 a fraction. In order to do that, I need to put the 12/1 like so. Then we do exactly the same. We look to see if we have any cross cancels. We're looking at our 12 and 8. The highest number that goes into both of these is 4. 4 goes into 12, 3 times. 4 goes into 8 twice. Looking this way in our diagonals, 5 and 1, we haven't got any cancels that way. 3 and 1, we haven't got any cancels that way. And 5 and 2, the highest number that goes into both of them is 1. So there's no simplifies that way. Meaning, the values, the fractions we are left with is 3 over 1 times by 5 over 2. Multiplying the tops, 3 times 5 is 15. And then multiplying the bottoms, 1 times 2 is 2. So our final answer is 15 over 2. So we are fine, you can see it's come out as an improper fraction. We are fine to leave it as an improper fraction, or if we want to write it, if they ask for it to be written as a mixed number, I know you've gone through this skill. So you ask yourself, how many 2's go into 15 exactly, or 15 divided by 2? There's 7. 7 out of 2 is 14, meaning we've got 1 over 2 left. 7 and a half.